Hello everyone, welcome to Radically Loved Radio. This is episode 106, and today we caught up with Cassandra Bodzak. Cassandra is a global meditation and wellness teacher. She's an author, speaker, TV personality, and works with clients to begin to bridge the gap between the food that we eat and what goes on in our mind, our energy, and our intuition. There's a couple of things that we've been talking about with a couple of different people, and especially people in our sort of that are in our career sector, right? So it's like we do health coaching and mentoring, and you obviously lead tons of different types of meditation workshops and mindful eating workshops all over. And so one of the things that we've been talking about these last couple of weeks is how do you begin to follow your dreams or follow your heart to do something that you really love to do. This is something that I've encountered with a lot of my students, and I'm sure you encounter with a lot of people that you work with, clients and students of yours. How do you start to kind of cultivate that sort of propelling forward for them to do something that their heart is asking them to do?
I think there's a lot of factors in that, and I think at this point, honestly, the people that I work with, by the time they get to me because they're ready to move forward. And they are ready, they invest in working with me because they're ready to have the support to take those next steps, and they know that they're ready to get to work and take the leap. So I usually don't I support them once they're there, but I'm a big believer that kind of turning point happens for all of us at different times. And so what I do in general is try to create a space online, whether it's on my social media or through my YouTube videos or my podcast, that breeds the kind of support and kind of opens people's eyes to the possibilities of what's really out there and what's really at their disposal for their lives as soon as they want to step up for it. So I think a lot of that is like the podcast, sharing my story, sharing the stories of people that I know inspire me and inspire a lot of other people in the community, because we all have those stories of the before and the after. We all have those, that turning point. And for some of us, I think it was more dramatic and really came from hitting a rock bottom and realizing that we weren't going to go any further. And now I'm seeing more and more people where it's a little bit less dramatic, and they're, and that's awesome for them, right?
Right.
And they have it easier. I wouldn't say my experience well, but then they have the tools, and in a way, I think they're advantages to both ways. Like for me, I kind of hit such a bottom that I dove in head first into meditating, my spiritual practice, following what lit me up, following my joy, and I see some of the people I work with now. It wasn't as kind of life crumbling, but it was just slow steps of more and more following their joy and following what felt good, and kind of building that muscle so they could take that leap.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely, you're right. And like for us, we've been able to have like great teachers, but again, it's like people that are coming at it now. There's so many tools out there. There's so many things that they can draw from people's experiences and great teachers and a lot of guidance, which is fantastic. You recently did something really scary too. You moved, right, from the East Coast to the West Coast. Is that right?
Yeah, it's funny when you were saying that. I was like, I don't know, what did I do? What did you do? I think it's just because for me that I think almost everybody else in my life felt that was a more dramatic thing than I did. Like for me, that was just what was next on the plan. Like, I got the message and I, made the arrangements. But that just goes to show you, that's kind of where I operate in my life. And, but yeah, I did. So I got the call that it was time to take the show west. And part of what I do for everyone is help people connect with what their most expansive life looks like and then go live it. And so for me, I was living in the East Village, and for a while, that's what my most expansive life looked like. That was a part of it. Was, I lived in an apartment I really liked in an area I really liked in New York City. And I'm a big location person, so I do think the area you live in and the quality of your home is really important and a foundation for everything you do in the world. And it just got to one day I found myself looking out the window, and it was snowing last winter, and talking to one of my girlfriends and saying, I can't wait to live by the beach and have a big white kitchen with lots of windows, and I'm ready to have, sunshine and this whole thing. And she was just she was also in New York and commiserating. And was like, yeah, that sounds great. Must be nice or whatever. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. And my girlfriends know me, and they're like, oh, no. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do it. And they're like, okay, just think about it, Cass. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to think about it. And so after that night, I started looking at apartments in Santa Monica. And I didn't tell anybody other than that girlfriend who knew that I had kind of the twinkle in my eye. Mm-hmm. And I sat and I meditated on it, and I realized that I was ready. That was it. Why I'm not someone that kind of let those if I really feel the desire and the I don't know what you'd call it, the daydream or whatnot. Why not? I can have that white windowy kitchen. That's what I'm sitting in right now as I talk to you, is my big white window-filled kitchen that I was imagining 6 months ago. And I live a short walk from the beach, and I go to the beach and meditate. And yeah, so I just went out and did it. And it's been amazing. It's been great. I'm lucky that I have places in New York too that I can always come back to, so I flip-flop back and forth. But I'm really enjoying creating a home here in California.
That's amazing, and that I'm originally from Los Angeles, so I had the same sort of move when I moved up to Portland. It's the same sort of thing. It was kind of one of those things I want to know what it would be like to be somewhere where there's seasons and where there is snow and green and trees and stuff. And the first year I was like, okay, I'm ready to go back home because the cold was kind of intense for me. But after a while, I just realized, wow, it just has something so different that it has to offer. But I think the biggest part is just moving from your comfort zone, right? And I think that's something that you do really well with guiding people and teaching, and just as a coach, to be able to be the example. Right, so it's my big drive, and it sounds like your big drive too, was how can I be an advocate for change if I'm not willing to change, or if I'm not willing to take risks, or if I'm not willing to do things that are scary, right? So I think it's huge. So that's why I get excited when I hear people being oh yeah, what would it be like if I moved here, and you get the sort of the side committee being oh God, that's scary. What are you gonna do? Where are you gonna live? What's it gonna be like? And I think those are the types of things that drive me, and that I encourage people to explore, to be curious about those things whatever your calling is, whatever sort of message you're getting, whatever sort of sort of little inkling of desire is burning within you, like go explore it. Don't limit yourself. Don't set your own limitations. You know, it'll prevent you from exploring something incredible, right?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, I do believe I take it very seriously that it's my responsibility to be in full integrity with what I teach. So I really practice what I preach.
So that, yes, you do, and you're amazing at it, which is great. It's great. It's great for us, you know, like the listeners and the viewers, you know, for us to have somebody that, you know, we can follow and look up to. So you know, you interviewed Gabby Bernstein not that long ago on your podcast. And
Yeah.
I know that, you know, in just knowing you and your story, I know that she's been a huge teacher for you. How would you recommend, or what would you how would you guide somebody that's trying to find that now? Like, you know, maybe Gabby B isn't going to be everyone's teacher. You know, maybe she is. You know, maybe there's other teachers out there. For example, my teacher, Yoga Rupa Rod Stryker, I've been studying para-yoga. I've been studying yoga and meditation with him for a couple of years now. There's other amazing teachers out there, you know, teachers that practice, you know, mindful meditation, Buddhist teachers. You know, I just recently interviewed Ethan Nichtern, who's a huge Buddhist teacher in New York as well, and he's incredible. So how would you recommend, and I ask this because a lot of my students are always asking, well, how do you find your teacher, right? How do you find the mentor? Who's going to be my mentor? Like, how do I find somebody that'll guide me? So can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. So I think it's important to acknowledge that you're going to have multiple people. And it's not just like, Gabby is now more like a friend than a teacher, but there was definitely one point where she was such a teacher for me. And she still is like an incredible inspiration, and I adore her. But it changed a little bit as I've grown up. And Marianne Williamson is someone else who's been an incredible teacher for me. But, you know, like the head of my yoga studio, Guru Jagat, she's also a teacher for me. But I think in this age right now, teachers also, like, the relationship is different. It's not like it used to be where you have one teacher and you know, follow everything they did for your life, and like it was this big, like, devout thing.
Right.
I think right now there's, excuse me, I think is a practice, like find a practice that you can fit in, and then allow the teachers that are supposed to come in. And for me, I think that's all about following what feels good, you know, what lights up, what calms your heart, following the people that you have that natural connection with. And so I don't think it's like I never embarked on a search, and I don't think I don't think it is a search. I think when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Mm-hmm. So trust that whoever is in front of you right now is your teacher right now. And if right now the only person that you're, you know, aware of in this, you know, little spiritual wellness world or whatnot is, let's say, Gabby Bernstein or myself or Marianne Williamson or Louise Hay, or I don't know, there's a ton of different people, Rebecca Campbell, who I love, whoever it is, that person is perfect. And so see what you can learn there, and see. I always say that you'll fall into your teachers. You know, so those are the people that when you read their stuff, you're like, oh my God, I'm going through the same thing. Oh my God, she's like speaking to me in that blog article or that video. And that's how you know who you really connect with, because there's a lot of great teachers that there are people whose books I read, there are people whose words I tremendously respect, like, but I wouldn't necessarily consider them one of my personal teachers. because I don't resonate with them the way I would resonate with like a Gabby or a Marianne. And I think that's a beautiful thing is you kind of allow your lineage to find you. So when you just show up for exploring and for following what brings you joy. And I always encourage, if you're just starting meditation or just starting to get a spiritual practice, try all the different kinds. Try everything that appeals to you, and then you'll gravitate towards one. One will end up feeling like home. And when you find that thing that feels like home, then that's most often that's your lineage. That's what you're connected to. And sometimes, like with Gabby and Marianne, it's like you connect with the teachers first, and then you find the Course in Miracles. You know, with Kundalini was the opposite. I found the Kundalini first, but I didn't really know who was my teacher in that aspect. And then eventually, after 2 years of doing Kundalini and just like bopping around with different people, I finally found, my friend and teacher, Guru Jagat, who is my more primary teacher, if you would call that. So I think a lot of it is just being open. Don't feel there's no rush. There's no pressure. Your teacher is exactly what's in front of you. You're, so much of in this journey, our teachers are circumstances and people we're already in a relationship with, even more so than they are as a great spiritual teacher. And so when you're looking for someone like that, I think, the most important, qualification there that one of my teachers said that I learned kind of a little bit later on the path. Sorry. That when you're listening to someone that is a teacher that you're drawn to or whatnot, their words should make you feel a sense of peace and a sense of calm. And I say this in a lot of my talks and a lot of my workshops, that I was like, if there's anything I say, if there's any concept I say that brings you anxiety or makes you feel like go into a weird space, that's not for you right now. Doesn't mean it's not true. Doesn't mean it's not a good thing, but it's not for you right now, right? When you hear something that's aligned with you, you're ready to feel, it just feels like a breath of fresh air.
Right.
So when you're aligned with the right teacher, they should feel like a breath of fresh air for you.
Yeah, it shouldn't
and if it's not feeling like that, it's not yours.
Right. It doesn't belong to you. If it doesn't feel good, it's not for you. That's such great advice to give. I think it's really important because, I definitely have encountered the types of people that they just want to fully commit, even if it's maybe not the right teacher or even the right teaching, right, or the right practice for them. I mean, I encounter so many people that are, doing even a yoga practice that's hurting them or that doesn't feel right. And it's like, well why? Why are you, I don't understand, why you're, committing to something that it's not bringing you that sense of peace or that sense of calm. And I'm not saying things shouldn't be challenging. I mean, I feel like we all encounter challenges during our practice and with our practice, absolutely. But when it's causing that, exactly what you said, like that anxiety or like that stress, it's like maybe not for you right now, Yeah,
but I will say to that, I think there is something to be said about at least getting into action, and I always think that, especially in times like right now, if you get into action and let's say you sign up for that session with someone or you go to that yoga class or you go on that retreat and it's so not for you, I think you are so much closer to finding what is for you than if you let yourself kind of be paralyzed by indecision. So I will say that being, it's good. Just be aware. And like we were saying, like not everyone is for everyone, and you'll know it when you find it. And sometimes, I did a bunch of different meditations that didn't resonate with me before I found some that did. You just keep on, being open to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, again, that's great advice, and I hope that people can draw from that and really listen to that, and at the end of the day, really listen to themselves, right? It's like the guru within that's always present and always knows, right? That's like, we need to cultivate that ear so that we can really, become so confident within our own sense of self, within our own sense of empowerment and our own intuition, where we can really just listen and be able to follow that guide.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's our time. That went by way too fast for me.
That went so fast.
I know. I'm like, we might have to do a part 2 because I'm like, there's so many other things that we can that I'd love to hear your take on. But so before we go, I'd like to just maybe ask a couple of words of wisdom or words of advice for people out there who are struggling with making a difficult decision and are needing guidance.
Struggling with making a difficult decision and are needing guidance. I highly recommend, if you don't already have a practice, you don't have a daily meditation practice, to start one immediately. I think to navigate the times right now, it's non-negotiable. You have to have a practice. And it doesn't matter what it is, something that resonates with you, whether you find a guided meditation on YouTube. I have a bunch of them that you can find for free on YouTube. You can try it out. Or just listen to a peaceful song and allow yourself to focus on your breath for 10 minutes, 11 minutes, and really come to your meditation practice and demand clarity. So when there's something, when I'm making a decision, come to my meditation, I demand something on my meditation every day. So you come to it, and it doesn't mean that you're thinking about it the whole time. You get on your mat, you get in your space, and you're like, you know what? I demand clarity around X decision. And then you allow it, and you go into your practice, whatever it may be that day, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you're committing to. And then at the end of it, I recommend journaling, because you've created a space where your higher self can kind of flow through you, and you can be more connected to your intuition and your inner guide by giving that quiet to yourself and that space. And now you have this beautiful window before the world comes in and starts, your ego comes in and all these crazy thoughts coming in, where you can just start journaling and just write down whatever comes to you. And I think you can gain a lot of clarity through that. And then I think the second part of that is that a lot of times we know what we actually have the clarity. We're just scared to admit that we have the clarity. So when you get even further clarity around it after your meditation practice, it's really honoring what comes up for you and trusting that what's coming up for you is the right thing for you, and getting into action on it. So that's my advice for making a tough decision.
Wow, those are some gems. Like those are some good gems. Cassandra Bodzak, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and I know that the listeners really do too. You can check out Cassandra Bodzak on her website, CassandraBodzak.com. Check out her podcast, the LightMaker series, and follow her on social media, and just follow her everywhere. She's awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for listening to Radically Loved Radio. For more information, you can go to radicallyloved.com. You can follow me on all the social media outlets: Instagram at Rosie Acosta, Twitter at Rosie Acosta, Love Radically on Facebook. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other things that I'm not mentioning, but I'm sure you will find them if you're looking for them. Thanks for listening.